Greetings, everyone. This is Gary Cohen, host of the Rec Center Show on KSCW. Our special guest today, Mr. Jim Sloan, the president of the governing board of the Rec Centers of Sun City West. Jim, welcome once again. How are you?
Doing great, Gary. Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome here, sir. And how is the summer going? The last we spoke was before everything really started heating up. Now we're really heating up.
It is heating up indeed, and traffic is down, and you can get into restaurants, you can get into rec centers, you can have a good time, so there's a nice compensation for that.
And there's so much going on.
Summer is going well. From the rec center's perspective, it's really moving fast. We've got lots of stuff going, and we'll talk about some of that stuff whenever you're ready.
Yeah, we've had movies, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Some capital projects are for example, two big things that are just being finished now. The dog park, just close to us where we are now, is almost finished. July 29th, I believe, or 28th, 29th is the grand opening. That'll be open to the public, and there's a nice small dog park there with a relief cell. The relief cell is to allow the grass to recover on one side, so we move it over to the relief cell and then back. So every couple of weeks they'll be going into the relief cell. The other one that's just being completed is a softball diamond. It has a brand new infield of AstroTurf and artificial turf, and it looks great. That one was paid for entirely by the softball club, and no dues went into that money at all. And so we're really proud and thankful to the softball club.
It's really beautiful as you ride by it.
It really changes the whole thing, doesn't it? It just sparkles now, doesn't it? It's beautiful. And then, of course, we are in the process of getting bids and setting construction schedules for all the stuff that we approved for club enlargements and movements and all of that stuff. And there's going to be some major things going on in both Kuntz and Palm Ridge. And both of those will be closed for some extended period of time just to make the internal changes of clubs moving. And then currently, as we speak, Beardsley is partially closed. And but that's almost done, I'm told, and we're very excited to have that going on. Those are going to be, all three of those rec centers are just going to be completely different and really more accessible, really more useful to our community.
Let me ask you, is any of that work going to be happening during the season in the fall?
Yes, and that's a downside, and we don't know how else to do it because it's the budget year just started on July 1, so we can't do much until then. So the money has been released to go forward with these projects, but that all takes time. We have to go through the permitting, the architectural, and then the permitting process, and then we have to hire a contractor. All that takes time. So it looks like it's going to be right in the middle of the season. There's going to be some inconvenienced folks, and that's not a good thing. But it might be a great opportunity, Gary, to try some new things, like join the broadcast club, that kind of thing. So there's other opportunities in town. We're not shutting everything down, just those two, and we'll make it through this.
I even said, like, even on a rainy day, such as one like this, there are so many indoor things to do.
Yes, I agree.
New ID policy, how are things going with that?
Exceptionally well. As you know, the guest policy was changed July 1, and that requires members, both tenants and owners and tenants and associates, to bring with them the guests that they want to have. We can no longer give guest card our rec cards to a guest and have them come down and use the facilities. So that has created some changes in our internal stuff. Monitors are doing a great job catching people. The other part of that, which is kind of an interesting side note, is that your picture needs to match your face, which I see in front of me from the monitor's perspective. We've changed the way the monitor works. And the monitor uses his computer monitor. Now there's quite a large picture, about a 8x5 picture pops up of you, Gary, which is interesting to look at. And so if it doesn't match your face on that picture, then we say to you, Gary, you need to go up and get a new picture taken. And I'm putting your name on a list with your rec card number, and so you need to be up there in the next 10 days or something. And otherwise, we're going to suspend your card until you get it done, because folks were using those inappropriately. So since July 1, we have had over 5,000 people come in and get new pictures and new rec cards, and fobs are included. If you bring your old fobs, just turn them in. You'll get brand new fobs with your picture on them, and you can use those at any of our facilities. So 5,000 people have already done this. The other thing about this interesting, I field a lot of the complaints that come in. Many of them are questions. Why don't we do things this way? Or what have you ever thought about doing this way? I expected to have quite a bit of pushback on this guest policy because it is somewhat of an inconvenience to take your guest down instead of handing your kid the rec card. And we've only encountered General Manager Bill Schwend and myself. We handle those complaints, and we've only had a total of 5 people complain about the guest policy as it is. Now, out of all of us, 27,000, 28,000 people, that's a pretty good percentage. So we've had 5,000 people adhere to the new policy without any problems at all, and 5 folks respond negatively. So I take that as a big success, and we're very proud of what staff is doing. Monitors are doing an outstanding job actually looking and making sure who's in front of me is the right person. Is their rec card paid for? Are they supposed to be there? Our thought on it is goes something like this. The rationale goes something like this. We're a member community. We pay $480 this month. Our dues are due next month. Barbara's and my dues. So that gets me access to all these places. It doesn't get me access to give you my rec card to go down and use my facility. Just as if you were to be a member of Costco or Sam's or any of those other things. You can't give your card away and expect the store to honor that. And this is the same kind of concept. So we're very proud of what's going on. We think this is a good move for our community. We're doing fine. The other part of this was there was kind of a general category of abuse that we were seeing, and this is the first big step in that thing. The other one was short-term rentals in our community has been an issue, and that's becoming less so because of this guest policy now. You can't just leave your card on the table and let people use it anymore. So we think that's getting better. We're making it less profitable, we think, to have a short-term rental in Sun City West. The other part was bringing fitness folks in to our fitness centers that were coming in. They were coming in as guests and doing training and being paid by the owner member. And so this has stopped that as well, and that was a liability issue for us, and we didn't like the feeling of that. So we have contracted with a new company. They are I think they are in place now, or they're almost ready to go in place, and they are functioning, and they're top-notch folks. It's being monitored properly and charged properly. So,
and that shows me how much you are paying attention.
We're trying to.
You really are. I mean, these are important. When you talk about liability, if there's an accident in the gym, right?
Exactly.
These are these could be expensive insurance issues, right?
Correct.
And health issues.
Well, and the question is, he's being paid by that owner member, but he's in our facility, so workers' comp claim, how does that all work? He's not our employee, but so how do we handle all that stuff? So,
well, I'll tell you, the fact that you've only had 5 complaints tells me that the community cares.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And I personally, as I go around and talk to people about these types of things, I don't hear a lot of negative stuff. The folks that I speak with that are friends and in clubs and so forth are very much in favor of limiting the outside usage of our facilities that we pay for. The other example of that was the library. In the last 6 months, we stopped having people just able to walk into the library, and the folks that complained were the people that didn't have rec cards and didn't want to play by the rules. But the folks that cared and paid their dues properly and were adhering by the rules, they want this. This is a good policy for us.
How are things going between you all and PORA? Things have changed, CC&Rs and all that. So how is that relationship evolving?
Let me start with our side. On July 1, we took over CC&Rs, and we have a staff of 3 people, all part-time people. It's being monitored by our key employee, James Riley is his name, and he's doing a great job. I was told on Monday that we have had 75 complaints so far filed already in half a month, and from Sun City West. The number one is weeds, as you might guess this time of year. Second one is vehicles, and then it goes on from there. So they're doing a great job. We've made a commitment of seeing a complaint within 12 to 24 hours. So either today or tomorrow, we're going to get your complaint seen and either a notice given to the owner member or something put in motion to solve the problem that you're having. So we're doing our part, and we feel comfortable. Staff feels very comfortable. The board feels very comfortable that our part is being handled well. PORA, it went through a tough time here just recently, and Ralph Johnson is the president of PORA at this time, and Ralph is also the president of Prides, and a very competent gentleman, very, very happy to be leading stuff. He has a great staff around him now. The board is re-emerging as some people that are interested in trying to restore them to an advocacy position within our community. And we plan on working together. And one of the goals, actually, of our board, of the next year's board for the governing board, the rec centers, is to stabilize and enhance the relationship with PORA. So we're committed to making this work. We feel like it's to all of our advantage to have PORA healthy and functioning properly. It's not going to help us if PORA fails. We all lose in this process. And who's going to be helping us? They realize that they need to take a little different direction than they have in the past, and that's a good thing. And that's a better discussion for Ralph to have than me. But I'm pleased with what I see, and I like the relationship as it going forward right now.
And you have all your meetings set up from what I've read.
Correct. We meet every month,
Right.
Second Wednesday of the month, and we switch back and forth between us. And they hosted last week, and we got to hear what programs they're running and how they were financially and those types of things. Next month it'll be our time. We'll talk about some of the stuff we're working on.
All of what we're doing here, all of us who live here, we're enjoying this time in our lives. So you did a really special story about repurposing, what we can do in those, what may be the final chapters of our individual stories. Talk to me about that. I think that was incredibly inspiring to remind people you're not done. There's still things you can do.
Yeah, well, we have a nice saying around is that all of us used to be somebody, and then we retire. How do I receive from life what I received when I worked? I can't I don't have the opportunity to get paid. That's a form of getting validated in social settings, those types of things. And so when I retired and I kind of floundered for a little bit, I realized right away that I didn't want to watch I Love Lucy reruns for the rest of my life. So I had to get up and get moving and do something. And so I joined the wood shop was one of my things I did, and learned a whole new thing. And from that, I gained validation of learning a new skill. I received social input from people around me. I had friendships that I've never had before at a level that I'd never experienced before. And so suddenly I had repurposed my whole life. I was somebody that I knew what I was going to do when I got up in the morning. I had a place to go. I had a place to be during the day. I'd come home, have my lunch, take a nap, and go back again. I couldn't do that when I worked, but right. I sure had a good time. Just more recently, Barbara retired and has gone through a similar process. It took me a year to figure it all out. It took her 90 days, which tells you a little bit about more about Barbara than me, I think. Well, maybe the other way around. But in any case, she's doing a great job. So we're involved, and it's involvement. It's people. This is who we are, and this is where we're going for the rest of our lives. It's a great journey here. This is a great spot to be when you retire.
I think, in my particular case, I had 40 years in commercial radio all around the country, and I said, wow, a broadcasting club. So I'm able to continue what I've done, but in a much different way. If there wasn't this, I would have looked to see where can my communication skills fit in. What I bring to the table, where can I take that? Right? If there wasn't a broadcast club,
yes, I
would be thinking, right? Where can I take my skills to help us all here, right?
Exactly. Right? And my background is in leadership, so I became president of the wood shop, which is a validating thing. And then after I finished that, I said, what am I going to do now? And Barbara said, why don't you go run for the board? And so, I had never thought about that, but that made some sense to me. So I ran for the board and was elected and became president last year, and then I was reelected this year. So I have some purpose. It feels good to make a difference in our community as we're describing right now. I'm involved in stuff. I know people that I never would have known before. it's just a great life. I'm living life, the life of Riley, we used to say when we were kids.
Well, it's a good time in our life this is the time, right?
It is.
Right?
It's not going to get any better than this, is it?
Absolutely. We thank you so much, Mr. Sloan, for joining us. We look forward to continuing our dialogues, because you deliver a message our community needs to hear.
Thank you very much for having me, Gary. I appreciate this time.
You're very welcome. You have been listening to the Rec Center Show on KSCW 103.1. I am Gary Cohen, your host. See you next time.